My husband's family once embraced me, but after our engagement, they turned on me. You'll never be as good as me, his mom coldly told me on our wedding day. Now, after a devastating health scare, I hear you've robbed me of my grandchild. Can our love survive this? My husband, 32 years old, and I, 28 years old, have a wonderful relationship, but his family, who once treated me like their own, has turned against me in painful and hurtful ways, especially following a recent health scare. I do not know how much longer I can endure this, even though I love him with all my heart. My husband and I have been together for 4 years and married for 2. We met when I was hired to plan his sister's wedding and we clicked instantly. We kept things professional during the wedding but began dating afterward. From the start, our relationship felt magical. It was deeply respectful, loving, supportive, and safe. It is truly one of the most beautiful aspects of my life. Over time, I also became close with his family. His mother felt like a second mother to me, his younger sisters were like close friends, and though rooted in hardship, their family dynamic felt strong and warm. The only person who seemed off was his aunt, but I did not pay her much attention. I genuinely enjoyed being part of their world until he proposed. The proposal was everything I had dreamed of, a beautiful trip, a perfect moment, pure joy. However, something changed when we returned. His mother, who had previously been my confidant, suddenly behaved differently, subtly cold and passive-aggressive. I noticed her shift in attitude, but I brushed it off in the glow of my engagement. In hindsight, I wish I had acknowledged it. Since then, everything has deteriorated. For over a year now, I have cried every day. I cannot recall a single day without tears. The situation has become so toxic and painful that I find myself wondering if I can remain in this marriage, not because I do not love my husband, but due to how his family makes me feel. Some background: my husband has 3 sisters, one older, married, and 2 younger. His father passed away when he was very young and they grew up in severe poverty. His mother worked 5 jobs to support them. His maternal uncle helped them immensely, which is likely why his mother and aunt, the uncle's wife, are so close. Since my husband began working at 23, he has been the sole provider. He pays for his mother's, aunt's, uncle's, and one of his sister's expenses. Today, the family is relatively well off, but it is largely due to him. They love him, yes, but they often treat him like an automatic teller machine. He never complains, he just continues to give. I always admired his loyalty and deep love for his family, but now I am uncertain about how to feel. Those same people who claim to love him have hurt me more than I can bear. Here are just a few instances of their behavior. After our engagement, his mother began making peculiar comments like, "I will have to visit more often to check on him now that he has more on his plate." She once told him, "If I do not take care of him, who will? Me." During wedding planning, my husband joked that he just wanted to elope. His mother responded, "A good life partner should encourage sharing love with family, not separating you from them," even though we had no intention of excluding anyone. On our wedding day, she told me, "I know you will never be as good as I am when it comes to taking care of my son. However, I will not expect that from you. I will try to guide you and hope you will be happy in this marriage." Then she hugged me and added that she hopes her son manages to find happiness with me. We delayed our honeymoon for unrelated reasons. When his sister appeared at their house during a crisis, her marriage was toxic, we were expected to cancel our plans entirely to support her. We were not against staying, but the hypocrisy was remarkable because they kept labeling me an outsider and yet suddenly expected me to step up. I became close to that same sister during this time. I even helped her get a job on my event planning team and recommended a therapist she seemed to really like. She told me she was happier than she had felt in years. But suddenly my mother-in-law accused me of manipulating her into thinking something was wrong and forcing her to seek therapy. She made her quit the job and stop therapy. Her aunt claimed that I cared more about my business than her emotions. The sister now refuses to speak to me and makes passive-aggressive comments. Once I had to travel out of the city for work, and during that time my husband fell seriously ill, extremely sick. I was frantic and kept calling and messaging him, but there was no response. My anxiety grew throughout the night. Later, I discovered that his mother had turned off his phone to avoid any disturbances. While I can understand the desire to let him rest, what hurt me was that she did not bother to reply to even one of my 60 messages. She did, however, contact his secretary to inform him about my husband's condition. So she clearly had the means to communicate, just not the will to let me, his wife, know. I did not learn the full extent of his condition until I returned the next day and saw that he had been admitted to the hospital. I broke down in tears the moment I saw him. In that moment of heartbreak, my mother-in-law chose to lecture me about balancing work and personal life. I still have not fully processed that day. One of the younger sisters had a boyfriend who cheated on her with someone he met during one of my events. When the aunt found out, she accused me of being aware of the situation and keeping it from them to hurt the sister. Thankfully, no one believed that absurdity, not even my mother-in-law. However, the most painful moment occurred just 3 weeks ago. I thought I was pregnant. My husband and I took 3 tests, all positive. We were terrified but thrilled. I wanted to wait for my usual obstetrician gynecologist, who was out of town for a week, before confirming with a scan or blood test, but I was too excited and informed close friends and family, including his younger sisters and mother-in-law. For the first time in years, his mother was kind and supportive. Even the aunt congratulated me. I cried that night, not just because I was going to be a mother, but because I thought I finally had them back. I believed we were a family again. His aunt recommended a doctor we consulted, where we learned that I was not pregnant and that it was a false positive. However, that was not all. A scan revealed an ovarian cyst, and due to an accident I experienced a few years ago, which caused a miscarriage, I might face fertility issues in the future. I was heartbroken. My husband was devastated. We cried and held each other for hours. He protected me fiercely and did not allow anyone to visit or bombard me with questions. We needed space to grieve. When his mother discovered the news, she cried not out of empathy, but because her son had lied to her when he told her everything was okay. He had lied for me because I asked him for time and privacy. She screamed at me for robbing her of the joy of being a grandmother. She accused me of denying her a grandchild, and then stated she would not accept me as her daughter-in-law unless I provided her with an heir. I was too emotionally drained to even respond. 3 days ago, my husband and I visited my trusted gynecologist, the one I have been seeing for years. She took the time to explain everything to us in detail: the false positives, the cyst, and my current fertility concerns. She answered all our questions and was incredibly compassionate. When she finished, I broke down and cried in her arms for an hour. Throughout that time, I kept wishing it was my mother-in-law comforting me instead. Because before all of this, prior to the engagement and the shift in her behavior, that is what she would have done. She would have hugged me, loved me, and supported me, and I needed her so much at that moment. I still do. But she is no longer that person, and I do not understand why. Since we live in the same building, no contact is not really possible. My husband has tried everything. He has defended me, banned the older sister from our home, and confronted every single person who wronged me. He even screamed at his mother when she mentioned disowning me, but she fainted. He feels guilty, and now I do too. He is emotionally exhausted as well. He cried with me when I expressed that I felt I could not survive in this family. He wonders if they even truly love him, as they cannot support the one thing he chose for himself, me. That broke my heart. Because despite everything, I love him more than anything. He is my peace and comfort. No matter how broken I feel, his voice brings me calm, but I am drowning. I wake up sad, I cry daily. My life feels like a nightmare I cannot escape. I do not want to divorce him, but I do not want to live like this either. I just want his family to love me the way I have loved them. I want things to return to how they were. I want to feel happy again and to feel that I matter. Right now, I feel lost. I genuinely need advice. What can I do in this situation? I feel as though I have tried everything. I have been patient, I have been kind, I have stood up for myself. My husband has stood up for me, yet it is never enough. They keep pushing, they keep hurting me, and I am beginning to break. I do not want to lose my husband. He is the love of my life. However, I also do not want to continue living like this. I feel like I am being slowly erased from a home that should have been mine too. Is there any way to fix this? Is there anything left for me to attempt? How do I protect myself without destroying the man I love? And if there is no way out, how do I find the strength to walk away from someone who has never harmed me but whose family will not relent? Please be honest, I do not know how much more of this I can endure. Summary. I used to be incredibly close with my husband's family, especially his mother. Since our engagement, however, his mother, aunt, and sister have turned against me. After experiencing a false positive pregnancy test, we discovered that I have an ovarian cyst and fertility issues. My mother-in-law accused me of robbing her of a grandchild and has declared that she will no longer accept me. I love my husband, but I am emotionally drained and feel suffocated in this situation. I am drowning in sadness and anxiety every day. What pains me the most is that I used to love his family. I miss what we had. I wish they loved me the way I loved them. But I do not know whether to stay or leave. I will simply write it here since I do not know how to update a post or pin a comment. Okay, it is done. We are moving out, but we will remain in the same city. We already have an apartment approximately 20 minutes from our current residence, so we are relocating there for the time being. It is not too far, but it is a positive step forward. Regarding the severing of ties, my husband mentioned that his father asked him to take care of his mother and sisters, which has weighed heavily on him. Therefore, he will not withdraw financial support just yet, but he will cease unnecessary interactions with them. My younger sister-in-law is somewhat apprehensive about our move, but his uncle supports our decision, so I suspect that will work out. Additionally, he has decided to write a letter to inform his mother and aunt about this decision instead of communicating it verbally, for obvious reasons. My only concern is that he does not recognize how she is not just a bad mother-in-law, but also a bad mother for manipulating his emotions for so long. He will begin therapy, so hopefully that will help. I feel so sorry for him. Even now, he is scared that I will divorce him or something, which I will not do since I realize that abandoning him to fend off these people alone is not something I could do. I have 4 problems now. 1. How do we leave without her noticing? My husband is writing his letter and will give it to his uncle before directly handing it to his mother. I will finish packing in a few hours, but I am fearful that she will see us, scream at me, faint, and injure herself on the pavement or something of that nature. One of my friends mentioned that she might even have a heart attack given her hypertension issue. That would be incredibly extreme, and no matter what she has done, I do not want her to die or injure herself. So how can we soften the blow a bit? 2. If I become pregnant, which is unlikely, and she suddenly becomes extremely kind again, should I forgive and forget or hold onto my grudge? I think I might let it go at that moment, but I do not want to, since some of you pointed out that she may pester me after I have children, and I do not want my children exposed to that type of behavior. 3. How do I help my husband realize that he has been taken advantage of and that these are not good people? I myself believed they were good people who simply did not like me, but I was mistaken. It was painful to come to that realization, but it was also significant. I have noticed parallels between their treatment of me and my husband. The only difference is that they try to exclude me from everything while including him in everything. I fear this behavior could deeply wound him since he loves his family selflessly and endlessly. I do not think some therapy will be sufficient. 4. Should we avoid attending any gatherings where my mother-in-law and aunt will be present? Given their behavior, I doubt it will be peaceful, and I am fearful that they will speak ill of me to others. I realize it is somewhat silly, but being hated by people you love is already difficult enough. I do not want to hear similar remarks from strangers as well. Furthermore, since my mother-in-law has stated that she will not acknowledge me as her daughter-in-law if I do not provide her with a grandchild, I suppose I am off the hook for now, correct? I think so. Thank you all for your help. Honestly, these are basic steps we should have taken long ago, but letting go of the idea of the perfect loving family I initially imagined was difficult. I wanted to be a part of it so much because I believed that before I entered the picture, they truly were a happy and healthy family. I have come to realize that is not the case, at least not for my husband. I also want to acknowledge the gut-wrenching position my husband is in. I know this is incredibly hard for him, but I will make sure to express to him how much I love him and that he is worth more than just the financial support he provides. He is a kind and amazing human being who is an integral part of my life, and I am so grateful for him. I am also oddly excited now. I am smiling while writing this and hopping around our room with clothes in my hands. We hope to create the life we envisioned for ourselves when he proposed to me. Thank you again, I needed this push. Story 2. Caught in a web of chaos, I never expected my mother to kick me out over my love life. Now 2 years later, while my boyfriend Jacob, 43, supports me, Josh, the 20-year-old coworker, drops hints like, "A real man wouldn't make you pay." Am I ready to risk everything for a new crush? I am feeling confused. I, a 20-year-old female, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, whom I will refer to as Jacob, a 43-year-old male, for 2 years. The situation is somewhat complicated, so allow me to provide some background information. I began my current job at the beginning of 2023 while still living with my parents at the time. It was a challenging period, primarily due to my poor mental health, but that is a story in itself. A few months after I started, my boyfriend began working at the same job. I found him very attractive, so I would flirt with him and we talked frequently. I asked him how old he was, as I believed he looked young, specifically in his late 20s. To my surprise, he informed me that he was 41. I was taken aback. He commented that if I was no longer interested, that was fine. I assured him that I was still interested. To be completely honest, we primarily wanted to engage in a physical relationship. At that time, I did not have a car, and I still do not, so we were limited to communicating through phone calls and texts. Unfortunately, my mother discovered our interactions somehow. While we were at the mall, approximately 30 minutes away from my workplace, she took me outside and informed me that she would no longer drive me to work. She stated that she would get me fired because she did not help me obtain this job to have me embarrass her in such a manner. I began to walk away from her and she attempted to grab me. After walking for a while, I decided to take an Uber to work. Upon arrival, I shared what had happened with Jacob. He did not have much to say, he simply appeared stressed. I clocked in and felt anxious throughout my shift, thinking, how on earth am I going to get home? Halfway through my shift, my mother texted me pictures of my room all packed up. She wrote, "All packed up. You can take the mattress box, mirror, boxes, and trash bags." I broke down. My mother had just kicked me out, I barely have friends in this area, and now my grandparents would not allow me to stay with them because my mother advised them to stay out of it. Consequently, I was officially homeless for a week because no one could accommodate me for more than a few days, but I am very grateful for everyone who helped and offered assistance. After a week of couch surfing, Jacob offered to let me stay with him temporarily until I could secure my own apartment. He stated that as long as I contributed to household chores and bills, I could stay. Fast forward 2 years, my mother is now trying to be friendly toward us and keeps asking when I will have a child for her. I am still upset about the unnecessary drama she created. For what reason? Because she was upset that her adult daughter was talking to a coworker, because she did not want to face embarrassment at work. I honestly do not understand. It frustrates me every time I reflect on what happened. In any case, Jacob and I have moved to a new apartment and we have 8 months remaining on our lease. Now I am facing a current issue. My feelings are quite perplexed. There is a new guy at my workplace whom I will refer to as Josh, who is a 20-year-old male. He is a very attractive individual. He frequently gives me meaningful glances while we are at work. He is fully aware of Jacob and expresses his disapproval, often saying, "A real man would not make his girlfriend pay for half of everything. I would not expect you to pay for anything." He also remarked, "If I were being intimate as much as he is, I would consider that sufficient compensation." Josh does not approve of age gap relationships, which is understandable. I told him that it is not everyone's preference. Jacob and I have discussed our relationship concerning other individuals. He has stated that he is uncomfortable with the idea of sharing me with another man, but he suggested that we could consider having a girlfriend. I do not believe that is fair, yet I refrained from arguing because after all, we live together and I do not want to experience homelessness again or find myself in another difficult situation. I do not wish to cheat on Jacob. However, I am uncertain about how to approach this conversation with him. Do I want to take a break? Am I ready to end this relationship? Should I even be considering this new guy? I have been restless for 3 nights, unable to sleep as I continually think about him. I am so dependent on Jacob. He drives me to work. I avoid going out with friends because he always reacts negatively when I attempt to make plans. I do not have a car because I am still saving money for one. We were recently discussing the possibility of purchasing a house together. I simply do not want him to be angry with me. I am afraid. My anxiety is overwhelming me right now. I am unsure if I posted this in the appropriate forum. I just need some advice. I apologize for the extensive text. I do not have anyone to discuss this with. Please be gentle in the comments. This situation is incredibly complicated. I rely on Jacob heavily. He picks me up to take me to work during his lunch break and drives me home afterward. For my 20th birthday, I went to a club with my coworkers. He stayed awake all night until I returned home because he said he could not sleep, knowing I was out somewhere. I just do not know what to do. To summarize, I, a 20-year-old female, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, a 43-year-old male, for 2 years. I am now tempted to pursue my coworker, a 20-year-old male, and I do not know how to discuss this with my boyfriend.